Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing a visual analysis of a story, specifically a classic case of conflict resolution gone horribly, horribly wrong. We're going to unpack a famous piece of folklore that perfectly captures a very modern, very real psychological trap. We're going to see what actually happens when two people just absolutely refuse to compromise, and how bringing in the exact wrong kind of expert can turn a minor disagreement into a complete and total catastrophe.
But before we get into the weeds, think about this for a second. Have you ever fought so hard to win an argument that you ended up losing absolutely everything? Honestly, we've all been there to some degree, right? Caught up in the heat of the moment, the psychology of a petty dispute just kind of takes over. We want to be proven right so badly that we completely lose sight of the actual goal. Well, today's case study looks exactly that phenomenon through the lens of a highly entertaining yet deeply tragic agricultural dispute.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the boundary dispute. So our story kicks off in a small village with two neighbors who share a property line. Right on this exact boundary, a highly coveted coconut plant takes root and grows into this massive asset. But here's the catch. As the tree grows, it leans. The roots are firmly planted in one yard, but the heady canopy, it hangs completely over the neighbor's yard. So the neighbor on the left argues, look, I planted it, the roots are in my yard, so it's obviously my tree. But the neighbor on the right counters with, well, the tree leans into my yard. The coconuts are physically going to fall onto my property, so the coconuts are mine. See the problem here? They both technically have a totally valid claim, but they are completely trapped in this zero-sum thinking. If one wins, the other feels like they lose.
And man, they fought bitterly. The coconuts are mine. No way, they're mine. The entire village even gathered around to try and mediate the whole thing, but they completely failed. The gridlock was just unsolvable. The fight escalated so intensely, with both sides really digging their heels in, that your ordinary, everyday common sense mediation was totally useless. They realized they needed a higher power. Basically, they needed an expert.
Which brings us to Section 2. Enter the expert. Desperate for a resolution that's going to vindicate them, our two neighbors seek out the ultimate legal and moral authority in their village to settle the score once and for all. They go to Mahadena Muththa. Now, in this folklore, he is the village's self-proclaimed greatest wise man. Honestly, you can think of him as a highly revered, incredibly expensive modern-day consultant. He is famous, or, maybe infamous is a better word, for his absolutely absurd logic. And he never works alone. He's always accompanied by his entourage, this group of blindly loyal disciples with names like Rabadiah and Puwakbua. So the neighbors present their incredibly complex property dispute to this great sage. Now, what's really interesting about this is the theatrical, highly exaggerated process of Mahadena Muththa's consultation. He doesn't just blurt out an answer. No, he performs his expertise. He actively listens to the neighbor's claims. He thoughtfully strokes his long beard. He literally pushes his spectacles up his nose to look more intelligent. Then he falls into a deep, incredibly serious thought process. He acts exactly like someone who is about to deliver a world-changing revelation. Section 3, the genius verdict. So the crowd holds its breath as the great sage clears his throat. The neighbors are waiting in eager anticipation, absolutely knowing this great thinker has found a way to perfectly balance property rights and agricultural yield. With absolute booming confidence, Mahadena Muththa declares, "This is a simple dispute. Both sides have a fair point. But if this continues, your friendship will be ruined. Therefore, to ensure total fairness, you must cut the coconut plant right down the middle at the fence." I mean, you literally can't make this up. No tree, no problem. He genuinely proposes equal destruction as the absolute perfect compromise. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer danger of echo chambers and terrible advisors. Because instead of questioning this incredibly destructive, honestly foolish advice, his disciples immediately burst into applause. They're cheering, "Wow, there is no one like our Muththa in the whole world." By blindly praising his foolishness, they totally validate a terrible idea, making the two fighting neighbors actually believe that this is a stroke of absolute genius.
Section 4, the disastrous implementation. Let's move to the actual execution and see how this builds into an absolute tragedy. Empowered by the expert and validated by the applause of the crowd, the two neighbors enthusiastically agree to act on this supposedly perfect advice. They are so blinded by the desire to end the conflict fairly that they don't even see what they're about to do. They head home. Step 1, they eagerly fetch an axe. Step 2, they literally chop the lush, growing, fruit-bearing coconut tree right down the middle at the fence line, just dropping it to the ground. Step 3, okay, the argument technically ends. But look at step 4. They lose the coconuts forever. In their desperate scramble to win, or, at least not lose to the other guy, they literally destroyed the very asset they were fighting over in the first place.
And you want to know the ultimate irony here? Look at the consultant's exit. Mahadena Muththa walks away completely satisfied, proudly twirling his beard, just entirely blind to the destruction he just caused. The mediator leaves feeling like a total success, an absolute genius, while the clients are left staring at a dead stump, far poorer than they were when they started the day.
Section 5, the real-world lesson.
It's an absurd folktale, right? But actually, scratch that. This exact psychological behavior happens in corporate boardrooms, in brutal legal battles, and honestly, in our own living rooms every single day. So the crucial point is the brutal return on investment of foolish pride. Just look at this breakdown. Their stated goal was to win the dispute or keep the peace. The action they took? Chopping a highly valuable tree in half based on terrible advice. The ultimate ROI? An asset completely destroyed and zero coconuts for anyone. They actively chose equal suffering over mutual benefit. They literally would rather see the tree dead than see their neighbor enjoy a single coconut.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly important question we all need to ask ourselves. What valuable coconut trees are you chopping down in your own life just to prove a point? Are you destroying a relationship, a business partnership, or even your own peace of mind just to win a petty argument? Please don't fall into the trap of Mahadena Muththa's wisdom. Keep your trees growing, protect your assets, and figure out how to share the coconuts.